DunedinTV presents your local weekly morning show from delightfully different Dunedin. Featuring Justin Gattaccio with Caitlin Hart. Including a musical performance by a local artist, an in-depth conversation with people in the know. This is Good Morning Dunedin.
This week on Good Morning Dunedin, we are celebrating Diversity Week. Speaking of diversity, the biodiversity at Hammock Park is celebrating about the new boardwalk in the Fern Trail. The City of Dunedin Parks and Recreation Department presents the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, honoring the dream. Storm Ritter will be with us to talk about her new mural at Blur nightclub. Community organizer Alexis Glasgow calls in to talk about her involvement with the Black Lives Matter movement. And lastly, the Shiloh Baptist Church Choir joins the show to share their empowered gospel music. All this and more is coming up this morning on Good Morning Dunedin. Good morning, Dunedin. Welcome back to your favorite little local morning show. I'm your host, Justin Gattaccio, and I'm here with
Caitlin Hart.
All right, well, happy Hat Day, everyone. And thanks for tuning in this morning, whether on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or DunedinTV cable channels 639 and 15. However you found us this morning, thanks for tuning in. So, what's been up, Caitlin?
Not too much. This past Saturday, I went to the smokehouse in Dunedin, so that was really good. We did eat outside, and it was a little cold, but they did have heaters for us, so that was really nice. And then I went to this little park down the street from my work and walked down. There's a little boardwalk there, so that was really nice as well.
Nice.
And then some apartment hunting.
Ooh,
Pretty busy weekend, actually.
cool.
Yes. What about you?
So I've been taking part in the Dunedin International Film Festival at the Fenway, and I'm looking forward to the drive-in movie tonight at Highlander Park. That's a nice new element, and I'm excited about it. You getting excited for the red carpet on Sunday?
Yes, I am excited, and I heard the award for the best film went to an international film that was all subtitles.
Just love movies that I gotta read. Isn't that the whole point of watching a movie? No, I love foreign films usually, so. Well, if you were wondering why we're wearing these funny hats today, it's because today is the International Hat Day. So join the celebration and don't leave home without your hat. It's kind of chilly out there. You might want to wear a woolly. This particular hat is an Indy hat, Indiana Jones
I've
hat.
noticed.
It's a nice brim. How about yours? Why'd you pick out your hat today?
This is my favorite floppy hat. I love it for vacations, especially when we go on our cruises. So this is the main hat I bring with me every time we go on a cruise, and just beaches all around. I had to bring two because this is my favorite hat that I wear pretty much on a daily, just whenever. It's my favorite ball cap. So.
Yeah, I've seen you in that hat, some pictures, and you're always in the water or whatever.
I love them both.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, happy Hat Day, everybody. Did you know that the boardwalk on Fern Trail is complete? There is a metal frame under a thick board decking that runs the entire length of the quarter-mile trail. Fern Trail, named for the dominant growth of the native gigantic leather ferns and sword ferns, is a unique quarter-mile trail that has been a public favorite and vital connector trail for decades. It's a naturally wet and moist area, especially so during the rainy months from June to September, and has been known to be flooded for the majority of the year. So the Friends of the Hammock in the city of Dunedin are excited about this new raised boardwalk, as it will help protect the terrain and create a safe passage for visitors year-round.
So it's amazing how Dunedin takes such leadership in land preservation, and I just love hearing stories about how the city and citizens work to preserve nature throughout the city.
Yeah, it's a really nice addition to the city, and they've got a couple other boardwalks over at Hammock Park, but this one, that one's over in like the swampy area.
I'm excited to check it out. I actually haven't been there yet since then, But I do like riding my bike through there. It's really nice.
It's a beautiful park, and the Fern Trail Boardwalk is a nice addition. Maybe one day we can do a live show from the Fern Trail.
Oh, yeah, that sounds really nice.
So if you want to volunteer or donate or learn more about the Hammock Park and the Fern Trail, please visit hammockpark.org. So what else is going on in the community corner, Caitlin?
So today is another Dance Walk Friday. So this week's Dance Walk Friday is disco themed. You're going to join us at Pioneer Park today from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. in your best disco themed outfit. Oh, I miss dancing at the club in downtown. So this sounds like it could be so
about as
much
good as it
fun.
gets these days. Just gotta dance
pretty
outside. My disco fever.
Oh yeah.
And I'm trying to think. YMCA, is that disco? I think that might be considered.
I think
disco.
that was before my time.
Yeah, it was way before your time. In celebration of Diversity Week and Martin Luther King Day, the city of Dunedin is hosting a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. ceremony titled Honoring the Dream. Celebration is at Weaver Park on Saturday, January 16th from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The event is free to attend, and you can enjoy entertainment, reading of the winning student essays about diversity, and a guest speaker that celebrates the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. A bagged breakfast will be provided for all attendees.
We'll find our way. Someday we'll all be free. We will be free. Someday we'll all be free. We shall overcome. 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 Someday, yeah. Oh, deep down in my heart, I do believe. We shall someday.
So what is the event protocol? Do we need to wear masks there or anything we need to follow?
Right, so face masks and coverings are required, and they ask that you adhere to all the social distancing guidelines. Just like anywhere else, it is outdoor. Normally the event is held at MLK Junior Recreation Center, and then there's a march to Pioneer Park where there's music and live event stuff. But this year is different, like everything else. So instead of the march, everybody's just going to meet at Weaver Park.
Okay.
So that we can be outside and socially distance, and we ask that you wear masks. But there'll still be music and some free food.
Well, that's always fun.
Help celebrate Diversity Week. So the Dunedin Fire Department is a big fan of the Tampa Bay Bucks, and we put this little video together for them.
Dunedin Fire Rescue supports the Tampa Bay Bucks. Go Bucks!
All right, go Bucks! So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be joined with our guest, Alexis Glasgow. Alexis is the community organizer who specializes in social justice. Welcome back to Good Morning Dunedin. I'm Justin Gattaccio, and I'm here with community organizer Alexis Glasgow. Alexis, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you guys so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
So this week we are celebrating diversity in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Alexis, what does diversity mean to you?
I think that diversity specifically to me means just pretty much including and supporting other ethnic backgrounds and involving them in kind of everyday things that sometimes they don't always get involved in. And that kind of really stems from going into these different cultures and kind of understanding and researching them just so you can kind of be appropriate and inclusive in everything you're doing in your day-to-day activities.
So Alexis, I hear that you're in school. What are you taking in school?
So I go to American University in Washington, D.C., and I am studying justice and law, as well as a minor in political science. And pretty much what we do on a day-to-day basis is just go through the implications of kind of laws we see around the world and how, particularly in the United States, certain laws can disproportionately affect certain races and ethnicities. And so we kind of just delve into the background of that and how we can improve the justice system and all the things that go with that.
That's a very important topic to be learning about these days. All right, so what does it mean when you talk about listening to learn?
So I think that a lot of people have tried to listen to respond, and certainly in these political times and these very controversial issues that are going on, it's harder to listen to learn. And so what that means is pretty much just, especially with people, and using those experiences to respond with something that you've learned from that. So for instance, if a Black person is telling you that it might be inappropriate to comment on their hair or to ask to touch their hair, then instead of being like, well, I don't think that's inappropriate at all, I think that might be a compliment, you can say, oh, I had no idea that was wrong. Can you please explain to me why that is wrong? Just so it kind of doesn't come from a argument perspective and more of a, oh, I'm listening to you and I am now understanding something new and I kind of want to know more about that. And I think if we can all do things like that, it might be a lot easier to communicate and build relationships with minorities and so on and so forth.
Communications is very important to a community in general. That's good. So let me ask you, what is performance activism versus being an active ally?
So I think that with the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement and all that kind of stuff, it has been a lot more publicized than it has been understood. And so what I mean by that is that people have seen pictures and the main stories that we hear in the news, like Breonna Taylor, all that kind of stuff. And Georgia, a little small snippet of what the actual bigger picture is. And so those kinds of things have been happening for like decades. And so the performative activism side of it is that people are doing these things for like to post on social media and to like try and prove that they're somewhat involved in this movement, while other people are kind of behind the scenes, like signing petitions, doing donations, attending events to learn. And so those are kind of the two different sides of it. So it's hard, I mean, because pretty much everyone that's doing something is trying to be an ally, sort of, but an active ally is someone who is like going above and beyond, like building the relationships and taking the pictures at these protests and kind of going more into the community and asking people with these experiences, like how they're feeling and how they've gotten through life in America being a minority, and those kinds of things, and just going beyond just what we see on social media.
Well, it leads me to my next question. Can you talk a bit about intergenerational trauma and how it affects Black people?
Yeah, so I actually did my last semester was pretty dedicated to this topic. In short, it's kind of the idea that things such as slavery and what we learn in history, where we start with slavery for Black people, kind of trickle down generationally wise. And so for instance, if you had ancestors that you know of that were slaves, then you kind of have a certain image of either white people or white supremacy. And so you kind of pass that down on your children systematically by saying things like, we have to fear the police. This is what you do when you get pulled over. And they kind of learn how to fear authority. They kind of learn how to find a way of life that's different than most people. And so that's kind of the trauma impact. And those students or those children who grow up to be students and so on and so forth, they go into the life kind of being fearful and not finding these experiences on their own. And so while it's helpful to learn about the things that happened in our past and kind of the disproportionate amounts of Black people that are affected by these things and police brutality and all that, the way that intergenerational trauma takes its toll on people is that they are more afraid than they are to change these things.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a shame, but it's reality, I guess, huh? All right, so what are some common stigmas of Black neighborhoods, and how can we start removing these negative stigmas?
This kind of goes back to the idea of media and how, like, around the Reagan era and Nixon era, and Bill Clinton, they really emphasized law and order. And the 13th Amendment, though it did abolish slavery, it kind of had an implication where only people that are considered not to be criminals will be free. So then you have the presidents and you have like leaders and political aspects criminalizing Black people and associating them with drugs and crime. And so people kind of got fearful of these neighborhoods, and they started doing things such as gentrifying them, where they pushed Black people out and they bigger businesses where they used to live. And the whole media sources were pushing like negative aspects on Black people and pretty much any minority. And so that kind of brought all these stigmas of the fearing Black people and how crime just follows and they're, bound to go to jail and all that kind of stuff. So that really doesn't want people don't end up wanting to live near these people. So then we have Black neighborhoods where they're all pushed into one little area and people are fearful of that area. So they don't go near it because they think criminal activity is going to be there. And so all these kinds of things just really impact and target Black communities and neighborhoods. And so that builds the stigma that you can't really go in there and talk to these people because you should be afraid of them. So that's why it's really important to focus on building these communities and talking to your neighbors, because ultimately, like, they are your neighbors, especially here in, the Dunedin area and everywhere surrounding. Like, all these cities are so close. So it just kind of emphasizes that you should really go get to know the people around you, because they want to know you too. It's not like there should be no separation at this point. So it's really good to just get to know people of all different races.
Absolutely. Love thy neighbor, right? Alexis, Thank you so much for your work in the community. How can people reach you and donate to the cause?
Yeah, so if you just look up my Facebook, Alexis Glasgow, you can see all the kind of things I'm doing. I have a website. I have just some social media things. And on my website, there's a lot of links to donations. Also, of course, we'll be doing a lot of stuff in the future. So keeping up with what I'm doing. I always post my Facebook about things that are going on in the current climate. And so I'm also right in DC. So it's pretty easy to get the, word around. So yeah, just keeping up with my social media and just always listening to learn, like I said. And of course, if anyone has any questions or ways to become involved, I'm open to communication, and yeah.
Well, thank you again, Alexis, for coming on. Good morning, Dunedin. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just remember to celebrate diversity and inclusion. Come out to the event for MLK tomorrow. And good morning, Dunedin.
Thanks, Alexis. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have with us Storm Ritter in today's Good Morning Dunedin Art Corner. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Good Morning Dunedin. Today's Art Corner guest features Storm Ritter. Storm Ritter is a painter, designer, artistic curator, and store owner on the rise in New York City. She's originally from Dunedin, Florida. Today, Seth Walker catches up with her at the Blur nightclub to discuss her fun new mural.
Good morning, Dunedin. I'm Storm Ritter. I'm an artist, designer, and business owner. I'm located in Manhattan, but I come from the beautiful town of Dunedin, and I am the artist of the new painting of the Cool People down at the Blur, which is an amazing nightclub. Gotta go. And I'm super honored to have a new painting there. And so these are the Cool People. I started off my life in theater and got into set design and costume design, went throughout my education to NYU, continued on with that, and I got involved in fashion styling, TV production. I worked for Saturday Night Live. I worked for different magazines from Marie Claire to Vogue. And then I opened up my own retail store selling my own artwork and clothing, and it was fantastic. Upstairs was a working studio, downstairs was the retail space. We had drag shows, we had live music shows, it was a total gas. Very, very fun. And I've had celebrities from Usher to Miley Cyrus come and shop in the store. I've met Snoop Dogg, Bono, I know Sophia Robb was there for a while. We just had a lot of really great people that came into the space and bought clothing. Dunedin kind of like, it embraces that sense of downtown authenticity, coolness. So I think that's why the cool people here, they feel at home. So the Cool People are a motif that I've created many years ago when I was practicing ambidextrous painting, where I use my right hand and my left hand at the same time. And they kind of create this very esoteric, divine form, the people, the cool people, and they are who you want them to be. They're very spiritual, and they connect to me because they're in my head, they're around me, they're around you. And when I create them with my hands together, it really makes them very unique, just how people are unique. Each one is completely different. So you could stare at this wall for hours, and each person appears differently, which is very cool and very, very special to me. When I'm painting the Cool People in the ambidextrous style, I work very quickly, mainly because it's fueled by music and I have kind of a jam going. But in this case, I probably started it from around 7 in the morning and finished up around 12 in the afternoon, which was a pretty good amount of time to get it done. It had a really nice vibe, a really nice energy about it, so it was done pretty efficiently.
Now, was your ambidextrous style, did that come naturally, or is that something you learned?
Well, that's something that I completely taught myself, purely out of frustration of being told this is how you have to do something. I was doing so many figure drawing classes. I was in set design and I was in costume design, mainly in theater at Tisch at NYU. And then I was dabbling in other fields, but I was getting into figure drawing, was doing it all the time, drawing, getting so frustrated using one hand. So I was thinking, well, what happens if I kind of add in the left hand, add in the unconscious? And I started practicing writing words backwards and just doing things like this just for hours on end. And once I have achieved this sense of trust within myself to just kind of use both, it created this beauty, this sense of divine, this sense of like showcasing a process. And then these people just kind of came out, and I was like, I love this. These are cool. And then people would say, oh wow, those are cool. So they became the Cool People. I design textile, and I also paint on textile, or I paint on pre-existing clothing. So with textile specifically, something like this tank top or this jacket, this was originally a painting. So I would do a large-scale painting, and then I would photograph it in a very specific way and find a very divine moment, like a section that was just like, wow, like it spoke to me, it was different. And then I would digitally redesign it, have it printed in the States, the fabric shipped back to me, and then with my pattern, my seamstress or whatever company I was working with at the time would manufacture the clothing for me.
What were your influences, even if it doesn't necessarily reflect in what you do, maybe some sort of artist that was a inspiration to you in some way or another?
Great question, Seth. I have so many inspirations, from retro Technicolor movies to a plethora of music, and I can't really say specifically in the art world who is like my icon, but I would say in this moment I was inspired by Patti Smith, Chuck Berry, and The Who, especially the Tommy album. The Tommy album is the movie including, is a huge part of understanding enlightenment and understanding the growth of self. And in this moment, that was big for me. Inspiration-wise specifically, it has to really come down to music for me. Advice to younger artists, yes. Number one, get off your phones. Use a book, use a sketchbook, spend time outside. If you want to learn something, learn it like through a book, or do a little Google search, figure out what that is, and then explore it on your own. Spend time with yourself. Don't try to copy anybody else. I mean, growing up, I spent so much time with my records, with my Victrola, with Gilligan's Island, you know, just exploring older things and things that weren't always in the mainstream. So when you spend time with yourself and you don't always rely on what's being forced into your face, that's where you can kind of find like, oh, I like this and this is cool. Art's important because it makes us human. It comes from us, from our souls, from our hearts, from our beings. It's individual, it's authentic. Art just keeps us who we are. So without art, there's no individuality, there's no chance to share what's in our souls and what makes us unique. So I would say that's why art is pretty damn important. Good morning, Dunedin.
Wow, that was actually really cool. Such an amazing technique for painting.
I can't believe she uses both hands. She's like ambidextrously painting this mural at Blur. And actually, I saw it the other day, and it is really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never seen someone paint like that before. So
yeah, so great job, Seth. We appreciate your hard work in the art corner. There's been tons of art going up around town, and I think that you need to go out and see it for yourself. There's about 20 new murals around town, and there's just more every day. It's like a trend.
I haven't been in downtown in a minute. So.
I know, right? We hopefully will be having a Made in Dunedin show coming up very soon to show everybody who's not been downtown in a minute to experience these great new murals. But we're working on that, so stay tuned for a new Made in Dunedin show. All right, so let's see what's coming up next. To continue our discussion on diversity, up next we have Alan McHale talk about the Scottish American Society and their annual Haggis Festival. Alan?
Thanks, Justin. It's great to be here again, and thanks for inviting me. My name's Alan McHale. I'm the president of the Scottish American Society, and I'm here to promote our two events which are happening on Thursday the 21st and Friday the 22nd of January. Dunedin Live was supposed to feature Off Kilter this year, but due to circumstances beyond our control, we've had to postpone that to later in the year. But the good news is that Off Kilter have promised they'll come back to Dunedin sometime in 2021. So we're left with two events which are really exciting. We're bringing back the Brazen Heads on Thursday night. That's Shane Farrell and Dave Gilmore. They were here back in September of 2020, and it was a fantastic concert. So we're looking forward to bringing them back. They're currently resident at Raglan Road, which is in Disney Springs. So we're fortunate that they're taking a night off Disney to come to Dunedin and entertain our members and friends next Thursday night. And then on the Friday night, we're having one of our quarterly whisky tastings, and this time we're featuring a tour of Ireland. We're doing all the different regions in Ireland, and Ireland does have a fantastic history of making really good whiskies. So there'll be 4 whiskies available. We've also got great entertainment from Cage O'Hanlon, who used to be resident in Flanagan's, and he's bringing his band, the Mighty Fine Peppers, so it should be a terrific night that night. There'll be food included that night as well. So Thursday night, 21st, the Brazen Heads, tickets are $20, available at Eventbrite. And then on the Friday night, it's our whiskey tasting starting at 7 o'clock. Tickets are $50. Now, in both occasions, tickets are available at eventbrite.com, or you can pick them up at the Celtic Shop of Dunedin. That's at 354 Main Street, downtown Dunedin. Lynn Thorne is the proprietor, and she helps us out. She's fantastic. She's got tickets for both, but she would like it if you bring cash for those tickets. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody. Things are starting to prep up for 2021, and it looks like it's going to be an exciting year for us, for our members and for our friends. So come along to the Scottish American Society. Dunedin Live 2 is happening, and we look forward to seeing everyone. Thanks again, and have a really great January.
Thank you, Alan. That sounds like a good time. So if you need more information, visit haggiscelticconcerts.com.
All right, it's time for some birthday shout outs. Happy birthday to my Aunt Tammy. She lived in Dunedin area for most of her life and just recently moved to Tennessee to be with her grandchildren. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to Caroline. Caroline just turned 12. She plays the ukulele. She's an awesome sailor, and she's a ray of sunshine to everyone that she meets. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to Kennedy. She's a fire medic by day and a Highland dancer and tenor drummer by night. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to John. John is a local photographer, best known for his documentation of John Diddy Hip Hop Tour of 2019. Happy birthday, John. Happy birthday to Katie. Katie is the licensing director of Eckerd Connects. She is the secretary for Rise Up and a spin and yoga instructor at Warrior One Dunedin. Happy birthday, Katie.
Birthday to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born today, January 15th, 1929. He was an American Baptist minister and activist who became the most visible spokesman and leader in the civil rights movement. Happy birthday, Dr. King. This week, we celebrate you.
All right, remember to send in them birthday shout-outs. Happy birthday to everybody out there.
Our musical guest this week is the Dunedin Shiloh Baptist Choir. This recording is from a previous MLK celebration. But before we hear our musical guests, I wanted to thank Alexis Glasgow, Storm Ritter, and Alan McHale, and of course you, wherever you are, for joining us today. You can reach out to us on social media to share your story and your birthdays. Please remember to be kind to one another and to stay safe out there. Caitlin, good morning, Dunedin.
Amen. 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 Let me tell you what else I found in that valley. I found joy in the valley, bright as the morning star. Oh, I found joy in the valley, y'all, bright as the, yeah, I found joy in the valley, yeah. Amen. Amen. I'm gonna tell you what they told me. Somebody found love in the valley. It was bright as a morning star. Whoa.